Welcome back to day 2 out of 5 on our mini-series on how to heal from people-pleasing. And the focus of our video today is on strategies to recondition your nervous system and how your nervous system responds to stress, specifically social stress, and building up your tolerance for conflict and disagreement. So like we talked about in the first video yesterday, we can't control our body's automatic response to socially stressful situations. We were conditioned over the course of our lives to respond the way we do, but we can recondition how our bodies respond to stress in new ways and build up our tolerance for facing conflict and other people's displeasure. When it comes to reconditioning your nervous system, this is going to be something that's helpful just in giving you back a sense of choice and agency in your actions in almost all areas of your life, not just people-pleasing. So this is really important, the work that we're here to talk about today. I'm a therapist, so y'all know I have to start off with a shout out to therapy. If you're looking for the fastest and deepest way to recondition your nervous system, I would really recommend bringing in more support for this healing process if you can. I'm going to specifically recommend working with a trauma-informed therapist, ideally a therapist that uses memory reconsolidation in their practice. Healing from people-pleasing is really a relational process. No matter what, you'll be practicing these strategies in real life in relationships with people, so the more support you have for this practice, the better. Now, I know a lot of you are here though because you may not have access to therapy at this time. And some of you may be in therapy, but you still just want to learn more and have more ownership over your mental health and healing. So that being said, we're still going to go over some strategies that are no therapist required. You can do these on your own, and it's at least a starting point for how to recondition your nervous system in your daily life. Just like we talked about people-pleasing being a learned coping skill, other learned skills that we often don't get taught are how to express ourselves genuinely, open up to others, and even relax. Now, we don't typically think of relaxing as a skill, but it sure is. Like, not everyone can do this. Relaxing is actually quite hard. I'm sure some of y'all can relate to that. Like, just because you have that day off or that vacation, does that mean you can actually easily unwind and let that stress go you were carrying? Not necessarily. That's why this is a skill. It's a skill we can learn, build, and practice, even if we weren't taught how to do any of these things, taught how to express ourselves authentically, how to open up to others, how to relax our bodies. So the goal of the reconditioning work we're doing, especially with our nervous system, it isn't to live in a permanent state of relaxation and openness. That's kind of my disclaimer here. Fear is important and useful. We have it for a reason. Fear coming up in appropriate, really threatening situations is necessary. It's a gift that's here to keep us safe and alive. One really great book that speaks to this is The Gift of Fear. I would recommend this as a read for women or other marginalized groups where you're facing more discrimination or more daily or frequent threats to your safety. Especially in modern society, there are many of us who live in a state of maybe chronic lack of safety, and we might feel that baseline pervasive generalized fear all or most of the time. What we're trying to sort through is keeping the fear when it's useful and when it can serve us to be more assertive, make requests for our needs, set boundaries, take action to change unsafe situations or protect or take care of ourselves. Again, that book, The Gift of Fear, really goes into how we can use fear for the value it has to offer us. And then when it comes to practicing relaxing and bringing in that openness and that letting go, our goal here is that you only feel fear when you're facing a threat to your safety, when you need it and when it's useful. So we're trying as much as is safe in your daily life to bring down that baseline of pervasive generalized anxiety that's there even when it doesn't need to be, even when you're in a situation that should feel safe but just doesn't. So as we're trying to discern here, like, when is that time to pull in these strategies to help relax your nervous system, open up? The first thing we want to do is ascertain, like, am I in danger? Am I actually facing a threat or not? Dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, has a strategy called check the facts. When you recognize some of the early warning signs that you're feeling that urge to people please, or maybe you already are people pleasing, that's a chance for you to pause and kind of ask yourself, what is it that's feeling threatening to me? You can scan your social and physical environment. And we're looking for discernment and building discernment here, because someone being upset at you does not mean that they're likely to lash out and try to hurt you necessarily. Sometimes they might be. If that person is likely to try to hurt you in any way, pleasing and appeasing them or going into fawning mode may be an incredibly appropriate and useful strategy, especially to buy you more time to look for a way out of that unsafe situation, to connect to help or more resources, and to change what you can about your environment. What about the situations, though, where we did that scan of our environment and we realized, okay, like, I am safe, this is okay, but I still just don't feel safe? This is where we might be in, let's say, that like fight or flight mode, or maybe all the way up to that freeze state where we're either freezing or fawning. And these are the moments where we're trying to bring our body and nervous system down from the dorsal vagal freeze mode into the fight flight. That's the sympathetic nervous system. And eventually we're trying to get back down to that baseline parasympathetic nervous system, which is also called the ventral vagal state. So you can think about your nervous system is activated. You realize you don't need all that stress and tension and activation. How do you help it deactivate? We have what I like to call some specific body hacks, ways that you can manipulate your body and especially your breath to help deactivate, reground, and soothe the nervous system. My favorite strategy to bring in here for regulating the nervous system and agitation that isn't serving us is, again, from dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT. This is called the TIPP strategy, which stands for temperature, intensive exercise, paced breathing, and progressive muscle relaxation. I'm going to start with the 2 Ps because I actually have a recorded video of both of those strategies in my mindfulness playlist, so check out those resources for practice. The idea with the paced breathing is you can do different counts, but you're trying to control your breath, and the most basic strategy is extending your exhale so it's longer than your inhale. That is already going to start to soothe your nervous system. Even a few rounds of just breathing out really long and slow exhale all the way to the end is going to help start to bring your body down. The progressive muscle relaxation, the guided version I have, is going through the whole body, head to feet, to relax all the muscles and all the tension in your body all at once. You can do a shortened version of that. Let's say you notice you're feeling all that anxiety and tension in your shoulders. You could just do a few rounds of inhale, tense and tighten your shoulders. Exhale, release, and let that go. Maybe you do another repetition. Exhale and release to let that go. So that's a very targeted, specific way you can use progressive muscle relaxation to ease up a particularly tense part of your body. The eye intensive exercise, that can be a workout or whatever form of movement you do. You can also bring in a situation where you really need to let off some steam and stress, even 30 to 60 seconds of jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever, dancing, whatever works for you to get your heart rate elevated and your body the chance to move through some of that physical tension. And then the last strategy, temperature, is what I like to call the power tool in the pack. This is using cold temperature to activate the dive response in your body, which is going to help lower your heart rate and blood pressure. It's recirculating your blood from your external limbs back to your central organs. So After 30 or more seconds of exposure to cold, your body will feel this kind of like whoosh calming effect. This one works really well and is really effective, but it's uncomfortable during it. I usually recommend to clients like 30 to 60 seconds cold shower at the end of a hot shower. You can also do cold water to the face. Another thing is like ice cube to your face, neck, or chest area. Try all those strategies out. Any regrounding strategy ultimately comes down to giving yourself time and space before reacting to a stressful situation, so you can move from reacting to responding. All regrounding starts with slowing down. Just taking a beat before you respond to something. That can be oftentimes just a few minutes. It might be stepping into another room or a bathroom, practicing some of these strategies, breathing. You can do the breathing even in the same room as someone else without leaving, but you do have to take like a few rounds of breath before you're responding verbally to them. So all of these strategies are buying you time before you reflexively people please and say something that doesn't feel authentic or agree to something that doesn't feel good for you. While you're helping your body reground, you can start with I don't know instead of just straight up saying no to someone. I'm not sure yet. Let me check. Let me think about this. Take that time to reground. And then you might have some clarity on what feels better for you and feel a little more secure saying no, or proposing another option, like another way to hang out or spend time that meets your needs more. I will say sometimes we might need way more time for this regrounding. A lot of the times it'll take a few minutes, but if you're maxed out and your stress levels are so high and you're in that burnout point, you may need to give yourself like a day, maybe a few days before you're responding to something. That's fair. Like, we just want to make sure your response when it's happening is when your body is feeling at least more at ease. Doesn't have to be totally relaxed, but just more at ease and open. And then after you've bought yourself this time, how can you feel more secure expressing what you actually want? That is what we'll be covering in the next video. We'll be talking about communication strategies, specifically to make saying no feel easier. So that's a really good one. I look forward to having you back tomorrow for the next video in this series.